Fox and Friends has been the source of quite a bit of misinformation about the coronavirus in terms of what you should do about it. Now, they appear to be changing that, and they are advising people not to congregate in big groups, but that doesn't mean they're not going to use this to get in a few shots along the way. So take a look at this video. This is Nicole Safir, this Fox News medical contributor on Fox and Friends this morning.
We continue to see these spring breakers just having little care for what is going on. You know, not only as a mother of three, but my entire book, Make America Healthy Again, I talk about how bad behavior and big government has caused our trillion-dollar health crisis. This is no different. We know that this generation, they like to take it to the streets, as AOC says. They do protests. They feel that they are invincible. Part of this is just being young and not having compassion for those older. But part of that is also their parenting as well. So they're going to force themselves into a position of martial law where we're actually going to need to quarantine them, because if they can't make good choices for the betterment of our country, then we need to separate them.
Okay, so look, she's saying that hypothetically there might need to be martial law. That appears to indicate that she's taking this very seriously. She was referring there to effectively what Ron DeSantis is responding to. These spring breakers who are getting together. You've probably seen the videos of them talking and saying that they're not very worried about this. They're certainly not going to change their plans. You know, they're going to party and have fun. They're young. It doesn't affect the young or whatever. There's a lot of myths out there that are going to do a lot of damage. And so she seems to be taking it seriously. Now, oddly, I don't know if you noticed what I noticed. What was that thing about AOC in the middle of that? That young people like think that they're invincible, and one reason is because AOC says to get out there and protest. Like come on, that's not just a random weird aside. There's an objective there. There's a goal there. And you're going to see this a lot now. Now that the right is theoretically taking this seriously, they need to find out who to blame for this. And especially coming off of months of not taking it seriously, of making the crisis worse than it had to be, they're going to want to divert blame wherever they can. We were talking yesterday on the show about the attempt to get people as focused on China as possible. I've seen even more of that so far this morning. Maybe we'll talk a bit more about that later. But if they can put it on the Democrats, they're going to do that too. And in the early stages, it is going to be very weird and fumbling and awkward references to AOC telling people to protest and stuff like that when there's no reasonable or logical connection there. But eventually you can expect that it will probably become a little bit more sophisticated. So right now they're trying to throw it onto her. God knows where they're going to go from there. But anyway, look, I do agree. I'm glad that she's taking it seriously and that she's doing it on Fox and Friends, because the Fox and Friends audience does need to catch up to the rest of the world. But the reason that they need to catch up is that they have been misinformed by Fox and Friends. And so let's turn to a little bit of this. You remember this? Fox News hosts urge viewers to fly, claiming the safest time to do it is during a pandemic, despite health officials' warnings. We talked about that on the Damage Report. That was Ainsley Earhart saying that this is the perfect time, in fact, to fly. That was 6 days ago. That was not February. That wasn't like the beginning of this. That was just before the last weekend. And I understand, I get it's taken a long time to get people to take this seriously, but there were plenty of people who knew what was up when Ainsley Earhart was telling people to book a flight to Greece or whatever, or to hang out in LAX. But if you were watching Fox and Friends, that's what you thought going into this last weekend, that in fact this is like the perfect time. Let me read her full quote actually. She says, "It's actually the safest time to fly. Everyone I know that's flying right now, terminals are pretty much dead. Ghost towns." First of all, maybe finesse the language a little bit when you're talking about a pandemic, but that was just last weekend. I guess they've forgotten about that. I didn't see Ainsley Earhart apologize for those comments or anything like that. But again, to be fair, it isn't just her. So let's go to Devin Nunes. We talked about this on the show as well. He was on Fox News saying there's a lot of concerns with the economy here because people are scared to go out. He's talking about California. But I will say just one of the things you can do if you're healthy, you and your family, it's great time to just go out. Go to a local restaurant. Likely you can get in easily. Let's not hurt the working people in this country that are relying on wages and tips to keep their small business going. So don't run to the grocery store and buy, $4,000 of food. Go to your local pub. So that is a Republican congressman telling people 3 days ago that they should be going to their local pub, their local restaurant. That I mean, look, it was like right on the cusp of all of those being shut down across the state of California. So 6 days ago, you should be planning flights. You should be traveling around the country. 3 days ago, all this stuff about like quarantining and eating at home, the hashtag stay at home, all that stuff. Forget that. That was just 3 days ago. And look, if they've landed on the right spot, if they've finally moved on to giving people the right advice, that will be progress. But I'm not ready to just move on and pretend that they didn't do what they did and that it won't produce, potentially more cases of coronavirus, more unnecessary deaths due to it. Like, we have to remember this. I get it. We have to fix the problem. We have to come together. We have to make sure that we flatten the curve. We have to get aid to the people that need it. But we also can't forget the people that made it worse than it needed to be. And right now, across the network, Fox News hosts are pretending that they didn't say what they definitely said. I saw Sean Hannity, I think it was last night on his show. He was saying that he never referred to coronavirus as a hoax. He 100% did. It was like a week and a half ago on his show. He called it the latest cudgel to attack Donald Trump with. It's the latest hoax. And so, look, he's worried, like all of us are, except he's worried about his reputation. He's worried about people remembering that he was on the wrong side of this. That he, like Donald Trump, perhaps because of Donald Trump, was engaged in an attempt to get people to not take this seriously up until the last possible moment. And so we're just going to note that for the record, okay? Maybe at some point there'll be some sort of consequence. I know Trish Regan, she sort of lost her show. They're saying it's not because she was calling it a hoax, but it seems weird that she's the one out of all of them when she had, I would say, the least extreme out of Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, all of that. Tucker Carlson doesn't deny that it's real, but he is trying to get you to focus all of your anger against the Chinese people. And it's weird that she's the one that suffered consequences as a result of it. I feel like we should note that.